Okay, so today we are talking about poppers. Been catching fish on poppers. Seemed like an appropriate time to do it. I have another video about tying poppers, and that is using an old-fashioned style. Let me see if I can find it here. Using an old-fashioned style styrofoam body. Here they are. They look like this. And the nice thing about this kind of popper body is they have a slit cut down the bottom of them, and the nice thing about that slit is all you have to do is throw some glue in that slit and throw a popper hook in there, and that's all you got to do. Today we're talking about these Surface Seducer Double Barrel heads, which is what you see on this popper right here, and these are very cool. They're very popular. I was pleasantly surprised at how much I liked the way this worked. This fly right here is just one of these heads. All I did was put some eyes on it, put a hook in it, some bucktail, some marabou, and a little bit of hackle here, and that's all. The only thing I did to it. It honest to God, looked a lot better before it got eaten by a couple fish. But poppers are not really about looks, you know. The fish doesn't care too much. So these are the large size double barrel from Surface Seducer. They recommend a 2/0 to 4/0 hook. So I had a little trouble actually finding hooks for these. I ended up finding these Kona Big Papa hooks. It's a 2/0. But I honestly think 2/0s from Kona are a little bit too big for these popper heads. I guess you can't really tell. No, I'm going to have a hard time focusing being this close up. It doesn't look too big. I wish the hook eye was a little more flush than it is there. You can see it sticks out a little bit. I wish that was recessed back into the mouth a little bit. And this is out a little bit too far. So maybe 1/0 hooks would be the best for these large size. I really don't know how in the world you'd get a 4/0 in there. It would be gigantic. That would just be stupid. So, regardless, we're going to try and tie one of these poppers here. I'm working with whole setup camera-wise. I got the microphone stuck in my face. I got a light. And I don't know how well I'm going to be able to tie around all of this, but we're going to try it. So, first things first, get rid of this. We start with the popper body. Now, like I said, these are just I guess they're a closed cell foam. They're squishy. They don't look it, but they are squishy. When you look, you can squish them. And they don't have any sort of hole in them, which is a problem. So, you have to make your own hole for a hook. I didn't look into how to do this and just did my own thing the first time. And what I did was grabbed a bodkin and just rammed it through there a bunch of times until I made a hole big enough to shove a hook through, which was not the greatest idea because I was putting a tremendous amount of force on the hook. And shoving one of these into your thumb, not something you want to do. So, after all that, I said I'm going to get on YouTube and look around. Stop it! They calling me. I said I'm going to get on YouTube and look around and see how people are doing this. And general idea is get something close to the right diameter, heat it up, and just stick it through the foam. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to change our camera angle a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Alright, so I have a 2mm Allen wrench and a set of vice grips, which may not be the best idea, but it was all I could come up with at the moment. So I'm going to heat that up. This would be a lot easier to do with something like a torch or a lighter that had a little more oomph. Using the old Bic is probably going to take a minute. So the idea is you heat this up and then we're going to ram it through the foam body and hopefully not hurt ourselves in the process. I have never tried this before with something heated, so we're going to see how it goes. It might be a disaster. There's a really good chance it's going to be a disaster. Using something sharp would probably be better than this, but this is what I had laying around, and this is what I decided I was going to do. So we're going to try it, see what happens. Yeah, this is definitely not the most efficient way to heat something up, but what did I do with that popper body? There it is. Hot! Alright, let's try it. Oh yeah, like hot butter. Oh yeah. That went right through there. It made a giant burn hole in places I didn't really want it to. So let's talk about what I did wrong there. Gosh. First of all, a 2mm Allen wrench is too big. Use a 1.5 or a 1mm if you're going to do what I'm doing. Second of all, I should have started at the back. There's an indexing hole there in the back. If you're going to be able to see that or not. But I should have started there and pushed from the back to the front. Now I got this ugly hole off center in the front. So we're going to try that again and start from the back and try to get a smaller hole because that's just massive in the front. I'm still going to use this popper eventually probably. Mostly because these were like $6. So I'll probably end up using that anyway, but let's try that again. Okay, take 2. Try this again. I'll tell you what happened. It did go through that popper very, very well. Just kind of sloppy. That was my fault. So we're going to try this again. Unlike I said earlier, you do not need something sharp if you heat it up. These are ball end Allen wrenches, so they are the opposite of sharp on the tip. And that 2mm ran right through it, no problem at all. This is a 1.5mm, so we'll get a little bit smaller hole, and I'll try to pay attention to what I'm doing and not be an idiot this time. I was surprised at how well it went through, actually. I'm trying not to burn myself here. This is getting quite warm. Good enough. Alright, so I'm going to use the hole in the back, index it, push it towards the bottom in the front. Slowly. I didn't do that perfectly either. Let's try again. Good Lord. There. Alright, so, moral of the story is, this isn't the easiest thing in the world to do accurately. That top hole is not what I wanted. I wanted that tiny little bottom hole. I'm going to burn myself. So we're going to use that and just leave this hole in there and whatever. Alright, here we go. We have a popper hook. Now, if you've never seen them before, the idea behind a popper hook, get this in the vise, is that bend there keeps the hook from rotating inside the popper, which is a good thing. To keep the popper on the hook, we are going to, and you got to bear with me, if I didn't show you earlier, here's another picture of the ridiculous setup I have here that I'm trying to tie around. What is rocking here? I'm just not set up today. I am struggling. Come on. Anyway, it's a pain in the butt to tie flies well and film it at the same time. So all I'm going to do is just put a bunch of thread here. And the only reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to use super glue to hold the popper to the hook. And I want something for the super glue to grab onto on the hook. Could you put a bare hook shank in there and hope that super glue grabs it? Yeah, probably. But I figure better safe than sorry. So that's good. Good enough. Tie that off. I'm just going to do... Ah, crap. Like I said, I'm struggling. Just going to do that. Now we got some thread on there, and then we're going to take regular old-fashioned super glue. The cheap stuff. I'm Honestly, I would prefer, there's a line of super glue called like liquid control gel that's really, really thick and really easy to use on stuff like flies. But it's expensive and, oh geez, and I don't have any at the moment. So this is just good old dollar store super glue. So I'm going to soak that thread best I can. Now I'm going to try to put this popper body onto the hook, get it out the correct hole, and not stab myself in the process. Oh, all right. There we go. So, now we got the head on the hook. Take a look at it, see how badly I screwed it up earlier. Oh, man. So, this is where we're at. I think I'm going to paint this popper. Let's go with black. And maybe the black paint will fill in that gaping hole in the front. So, we're going to paint, and then well, let's look at our paint options. Well, I am not an artist. Some people airbrush poppers. They make them look amazing. I'm going to take the easy way out. Got some Krylon metallic black stainless. We're going to try it out, see what it looks like. This is a fusion all-in-one paint and primer. I mean, realistically, you could use anything for this. Painting it by hand and then blasting a clear coat over it a bunch of times is going to give you like the most durable finish. But I can't find a can of clear spray right now. So we're just going to do this, see how it looks. Alright, so here is our finished product after paint. Like, oh, the bottom looks terrible. Mostly because I scuffed it all up taking the paint off of the hook. You need to be really careful when you paint these things, because if you put too much paint on the hook, it won't be sharp. So taping the hook up is probably your best bet. Now we're going to put eyes on this thing. Doesn't really matter, not important. Fish doesn't see them, chances are, but you know, I want it to look cool. So I tried to lay out all my materials beforehand. I didn't do a very good job. Dab of super glue. Just a dab. And then Surface Seducer actually makes eyes designed for this popper. But they're expensive, and I wasn't going to go buy eyes specifically for this when I know I had some at home that I cannot get a hold of right now. There we go. So I'm just going to stick that eyeball in there with a pair of tweezers. That's centered more or less. There you go. And we'll give that a minute or two to dry before we flip it over and try the other side. Alright, there's eye number one, done and dry. So we'll roll it over and stick the second eye on the other side. Same deal as the first side. Drop a super glue. You could use UV resin and cover the eyes. You could do whatever you want. Just enough super glue to hold it in there. Oh no. There we go. Get in there. Oh, come on. There we go. We'll give that a minute or two to dry and we'll finish things off. Alright, here we go. We have eyes, we have a paint job. So the hard part's done. This popper will fish just like this. You could take this out, catch fish on it just as it is. But make it pretty. I tried to get my materials ready before I started filming. I didn't do a very good job. We're going to go with a black and red and pink kind of color scheme here. going with what we've already got. Does that magenta look a little ridiculous? Kind of does, doesn't it? I think I'm going to skip the magenta bucktail. I like to put a little bucktail and a little marabou on the back of a popper, just at the base of the hook. Do you need both? No. I just like you wind some bucktail on there, and I'm making a mess. Sorry you can't see what I'm doing. I'm just getting some bucktail ready. You wind the bucktail onto the hook and crank it down hard, and it'll splay out. And I like a little piece or two poking into the water. I think it makes it look more buggy from below. Now, whether that's going to help you catch fish or not, I have no idea. So just a sparse little clump of black bucktail. Nothing crazy. And we're not tying a streamer or anything. I guess I need some thread, don't I? Jeez. So I'm just going to tie. This is just some black metallic thread. Just going to tie that on there. Scissors. My bucktail. And this is going to be messy, and that's fine. So once again, it is a popper. You know, all the fish are concerned with is, what's that thing? What's it doing? Oh, crap. There we go. I'm going to splay. Oh, jeez. Let that splay out any way it wants to. Get crazy. Again, I am tying over top of a camera, a microphone, a tripod, and a light. So it's just hard to see what I'm doing. Alright, so a little black bucktail. And like I said, it's not a streamer. It doesn't need to be pretty. And then, on top of that, I'm going to take a little bit of black marabou. And I'm going to pull the crap off of this, get the good stuff off. Like I said, I tried to prepare my materials beforehand. And I didn't do a very good job. Alright. Oh, jeez. There we go. Just a little puff, almost like the tail of a woolly bugger. Always have black marabou on hand, and that's why for tying woolly buggers, because a black woolly bugger is pretty much a do-everything fly. Alright, I'll get that marabou centered. Now this is starting to look like something you might actually pay money for. So then, honestly, this is entirely up to you. Artistic expression at this point. Tie whatever you want on there. Tie some rubber legs through it. I decided to skip pulling rubber legs through the popper. You'll see that a lot where they stick them through the body here so it looks like frog legs or something like that. Because I had such a hard time making holes in the proper direction. So we're just going to tie a little red hackle over here. Just for fun. Just because I like the way it looks. And then another piece. And like I said, I'm not too concerned with this being messy. That's totally fine. And then I'm going to roll it over. Perks of having a real rotary vise, huh? And do the same thing on the other side, just for fun. Like I said, you could do whatever you want. If you want to fish it bare, you can fish it bare. I do like the marabou and the bucktail, just because I think they give you a little something hanging off the back, and it looks buggy, it looks alive. Marabou and bucktail in water, you know, nothing looks more alive, has more movement than that. So I like that for practical purposes. But after that, I mean, honestly, just do whatever you like. Put some flash in there, whatever you want to do. Alright, so I got everything in here. I'm like eating this microphone. I'm sorry if you can hear me. It's like right in my face. Tie that down tight. Oops. now, pretty much call that a finished fly. I am going to try and whip finish it, see if I can get around it without making a mess. Maybe. Fly tying desk. There we go. Fly tying desk is a mess. This is, again, really hard to do the way I'm leaning into it. We gonna be able to get around it? Yeah. Oh. And now, before I even cut that thread, actually that's good enough. Let's get that off of there. I'm going to find my super glue. It's here somewhere. There it is. And just fill that wrap full of super glue. Help keep everything together, especially when it's getting eaten by fish, which is, of course, what we want. So there's the Surface Seducer Double Barrel popper head and what you can do with it. I tied another one. Let's see if it's actually drying right now. I painted it, tried to do like a chartreuse green, and the paint I bought was this like sparkle, and I thought it was going to be cool, but it just turned out kind of crazy looking. Here, I'll show you. And here's our finished product on that one. This, I mean, it's just silly looking, but I like it. This is just some bucktail. This stuff is called troll's hair, and some more hackle. And, you know, there's nothing to it. Again, it doesn't have to look pretty. It just needs to pop and stay together. So the most important parts are getting that popper head glued to the hook so it doesn't spin. And again, you're not going to be able to see it, but when you do paint these, taping over the hook is a good idea. You can see I've got paint all over that hook. I don't know if you can see that or not. But I am going to file that all off and sharpen that hook so that it works, the most important part. So if you're going to try it, just go grab some goofy paint and spray your heads. Thanks for watching.